Welcome to multiple choice question 22 of the 2008 Mathematical Methods Exam 2. In this video, we will be looking at the solution for this question. A reminder that this video is in no way endorsed by VCAA. Now, before we move on, I just want to point out that the use of a CAS calculator is not appropriate for this question, but of course you could consult your notes in an exam situation. So question 22 introduces the graph of the function f, which is shown below, and it has a domain of 0 to 6. Both 0 and 6 being included. The question goes on to ask which of the following is not true. So the word not there is important. We're looking for one statement that's not true, which means we'll come across four that are correct. So if we consider A, it says the function is not continuous at 2 and 4. And we can spot points of discontinuity at those x values. That's where there's a jump in the graph. So that is a correct statement, so it can't be the one that's not true. The next option B says the function exists for all x values between 0 and 6. Now the domain is exactly that it goes from 0 to 6, and we can't see any values of x where there isn't a y value associated. There's no asymptotes or gaps in the x values, even though there might be a jump from one x value to the other at those points of discontinuity. All x values do have a y value. So the function does exist for all values of x between 0 and 6. So as that's a correct statement, B can't be the answer to this problem. For C, it says f of x equals 0 when x is 2 and when x is 5. So when x equals 2, f of x is actually this value here if I just color it in. And that value is non-zero. It's a little bit of a distractor here because it has an open dot at 0 when x equals 2, but the point is the one that's colored in, which is the non-zero value. When x is 5, it does equal 0, but because one of those is not 0, then it is an incorrect statement, which means it is the answer to this problem. And now while we're here, we'll just go through D and E. So D says that the function is positive for x is an element of 0 included to 5 not included. If we have a look at the graph, the y values are all positive from 0 to 2, and then even though it looks like it gets to 0 at 2, it actually jumps up and it's still positive from 2 to 4, then it jumps up again and it's still positive from 4 until almost 5, but because that's a round bracket anyway, we only need it to be positive from 0 to 5, which is true, so D can't be the answer. And then if we look at our last option, E, it says the gradient of the function is not defined at x equals 4. And because x equals 4, that's an endpoint, we know that we can't get the derivative at an endpoint. So E is true, it's not defined. It says the word not in there, so that is a true statement, which means E can't be the correct answer for this problem. So again, we found that C was the answer to question 22. From the examiner's report, we can see that it challenged a lot of students, with 53% of students getting this question correct. There were a number of students, 16% of them, that did get a little bit confused and selected D, as they weren't able to interpret that graph correctly and know that all of the y values from 0 to 5 not included were positive values and non-zero.